Hello, good evening, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for joining us for this caucus. What we're going to do is just try to flesh out once more what your side of the story is. You get to present your story to us. We want to draw out specifically what your agenda is as the landlord. Is there something in particular that makes this money so important to you? Is there any other way to make sure that you have the resources that you need in order to maintain yourself? Would you please go into a discussion of this?
Okay, so like I've said, this is a very hard and challenging time, and I've had them for tenants for a little bit now, and they've been fine. They've been good tenants by all accounts. I mean, they don't make a lot of noise. They pay me. They say hello. I mean, nothing really. I wouldn't say I'm friends with them, but they're respectful. I don't have issues with them, and I don't want this to become something very contentious. That's why I came to mediation. I thought that maybe if we could all just speak about this, that there would be a way where we could all be happy and we can all, I just wanted them to see that my perspective, because, I didn't really think that approaching them was gonna come to any kind of solution. The only conversation I really had with them, they kind of just told me like, we lost our jobs, and there wasn't really much more like to say. I felt like they just wanted to get away from me. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said before, they really lose nothing in this situation. This is like a total win for them. Like, not the fact that there's corona, but the fact that they just don't have to pay any rent. For me, this is a complete loss in every sense of the word. Like, I'm gonna lose the building that I put all my life savings into, all my work into, everything I've ever done, all the long hours I've ever worked, all my sacrifices that I ever made, that all those savings bought this building. And I know that they don't see it like that. They just see it as, maybe they just see it as like, oh, too bad, like it's hard times, too bad. But I mean, I think there's a way for them to like do the right thing also. Like I get that if everything was free, everyone would be happy. But at the end of the day, everything's not free. And we all have bills and we all need money to, survive. So all I really want out of this is for them to realize that just because I can't evict them doesn't mean they should just decide, oh, well, we're not paying and that's it. Oh, well, like I really just want them to realize that they're going to owe me this money regardless. Like if they're not going to pay me now, Corona and all this, the courts, all this is going to come to an end eventually. And I'm gonna get paid. So we could either do this, through a long, annoying litigation process and eventually, go after the wages they do get back, or they could just realize, let's do the right thing and give her what we can give her because, I'm gonna lose everything.
Right, and we understand your frustration. It must be very difficult for you, and I'm sure you can imagine it's difficult for them as well. Have you tried making a deal with them prior to coming here?
I mean, I'm interested in that. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it a deal because it's like we already have a deal. It was our contract, like they need to realize that. I'm willing to come to some other agreement because I realize that under these circumstances, they can't meet their part. I get that. So.
I understand where you're coming from, and I thank you for sharing that with so much sincerity. You talked about why this is important to you. You talked about how your life savings went into your ownership of this building and the private business that you have that you can unfortunately no longer maintain. I'm sorry that you're going through that. I'm hearing that you do want to strike some kind of a deal with your tenants.
Mhm.
Have you have you given some thought to what the substance of that deal might look like? You've explained why the money is important to you. It's not just for its own sake, it's so that you can maintain the resources that you've taken so much time to build. Would you
Yeah,
please
exactly.
tell
And I'm not, it's not like I'm making a profit here or anything. I'm just trying to get a percent, like get the money that keeps me from losing everything that I ever worked for. That's my main goal here. Like, pay me a percentage that, I don't want so little either, because, that's not right. But I mean, they're getting very defensive when it comes to like what money they're getting, or their unemployment, or, their stimulus check. And I'm not saying that in a way of like, give me your whole check, but I'm saying it in a way of like, they can't deny that they're not getting any income. You know what I mean? Like, that's my point. They're getting something in. So I think that means they should give me, at least 65% of what they typically would pay me. Or, I mean, 60% maybe. Like, there has to be some kind of, meet me a little more than halfway here, because it's just not right.
I appreciate you and willing to strike a deal. My concern is, what about the 3 months that you said they missed? Are you just dismissing those payments?
I mean, no, but I don't know what to do here. I mean, they don't have the money right now, so I feel like maybe um, they could pay me from here on out the 60% per month, and by the end of the year, um, they're gonna have to pay me those back fees. So I mean, maybe 60% is too low then, because it's gonna be way too much money for them to make up. I mean, right now they pay me 1,000, so maybe they could each pay me like 700 a month, because if they're getting $900 every other week from unemployment, I think that's more than fair.
Well, we need to know what these figures are. And I'm understanding that you don't want to, you're not trying to seize all of the money that they're receiving in aid. However, you do need to take care of yourself. So what we're going to try to do is find a figure that's workable for everyone. You've told us about the significance of this money, but we need to find a figure that's workable for everyone. And the reason I say this is because you might be driving the other party to their best alternative to
Mhm.
negotiated agreement. And their alternative there is to do nothing and push you into a position of litigating. And we don't want to see that happen, because you specifically reached out to us to do mediation work so that you don't have to litigate. So let's try to compromise. Perhaps I could choose a better word. Let's try to come together and reach consensus on what they can be able to pay you and fulfilling the rent need that you have.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do want to come together. I don't want like a hostile situation here, because, I'm still going to interact with them and I'm still going to see them. I don't want this contentious issue, but I do want them to realize that I can only be so kind, because at the end of the day, it's still a business transaction, and they're not going to get legal. They're not going to get kicked out right now. But I think that they should realize they need to do the right thing also. And eventually, when times are better, I will go to court and I will make sure that I get my money. So I want them to understand that, where I'm being generous now, it's not going to last if they don't, show something back in return towards me.
Yeah, I
I want to
understand.
ask, is it okay to share with the other party what your proposal was? The proposal prior to you suggesting litigation in the future, the proposal for you to reach an agreement whereby they're paying you some of their income, some of their stimulus income, um, and um, and and excuse me, unemployment insurance. to you as their landlord?
I think when we come back, I'm okay with saying it to them, but you know, if they get a little crazy, then I would like if you guys could, you know, step in and you know, try to explain my point of view a little bit.
Well, I would like to neutralize your language a little bit with your permission, because the tenants have
Yeah, you just have
a
to
set,
understand, I'm just a little frustrated.
have a set of struggles that they're facing as well, and they're likely to push back, but we want them to be able to reach a consensus with you. And I thank you for being so reasonable under these circumstances. I think it's time for us to talk to Nissan and Ben and ask
Okay,
them what they are capable of contributing.
okay,
I thank you so much, Jackie, for your time.
And Jackie.
thank you.
Hello, Nissan. Hello, Ben. We had a caucus with Jackie, and we're really interested in hearing more of your story and hearing some of the hardships you've been through and what you're interested in doing in response to them. Tell us, you know, what is on your agenda in terms of, you know, your livelihood here, because we're talking about you being able to stay in this home that you've built over some time, without worrying about a threat of eviction after the pandemic ceases, or anything in terms of litigating. We're trying to find a peaceable solution in both the short and the long term, I think. What do you say to that?
Well, I guess it is hard for everybody. Um, I'm still waiting to hear any, you know, any incentives or any cuts in the rent price for you know for the short term. Long term, we'll try to pay everything off. But you know, Jackie kept saying that she's willing to make a deal, but she never gave us any numbers. So I'm still a little confused as to what deal are we trying to make. Because if she's trying to get the full rent, I'll tell you right now, that's not something I could do.
Well, I think, Nissan, that Jackie was going to express to you what she thought was a reasonable request in terms of what you could pay in rent moving forward. Ben, please speak. Both of you, you have ample
Yeah, I
time
was
to
just gonna
discuss your
say,
concerns.
yeah, sorry for cutting you off. I was just gonna say that, like I said earlier, you know, when we weren't in the caucus, like, you know, we have the government on our side here. Our we don't legally have to. We don't legally have to. You know, we're not gonna get evicted, so we kind of have the upper hand here. And I just don't feel that, you know, we should be, you know, jumping into any deals right now. I can't think of a deal that, you know, I'd be happy with right now, just due to the situation.
Well, Ben,
Um,
I'd like to ask you to think about, you know, think about your specific circumstances right now as a hotel owner yourself, and understanding that the market has just dried up so that you can't fill those units. What is that experience like for you right now?
um, it's not a very good feeling. It's very, you know, it's hard to deal with. Um, it's it's um, it's terribly hard to deal with. You know, that's my full, you know, that's where I make all my money. That's where I'm able to pay for, you know, everything. And, you know, to have, you know, my hotel at not full capacity, or not even close to that, it's very challenging.
Yes, yes, it is rough. We're going through such a difficult time with this pandemic. Um, what you could do is put yourself in Jackie's shoes as well. Um, she'd be remiss if Well, she'd be simply wrong if she tried to put you out in the street. That's something that you recognize that she can't do. There's an obligation for her to keep you housed. However, she's having a hard time with her resources, just as you are with your hotel. Could you kind of see things from her perspective on having these units from which she can generate no income?
Yeah, I hear it. I understand it.
Yes. Well, I mean, I thank you for being really receptive to that message. What I'd like to do is see what kind of options do you have available to address this concern that you can recognize. What kind of resources could you tap into?
Well, with employment, I'm getting close to around 1,800 a month, and from that money, my rent is $1,000 a month, but I think that I would only be able to give 500 a month. That's I think what my max is at the moment.
500 a month. I see. I see. So it sounds like you're interested in meeting her halfway. Um, that's a good thing. Thank you. Um, Ben, are you capable of doing the same here?
Well, listen, being that like I do understand Jackie's position, um, I would say that um, if I were to apply for unemployment, which I wasn't planning on, and any money that I was planning on getting, like I said, I was hoping to put into my business, but if Nissan is willing to go and go in for what was it? I think he said 500 a month, and being that I would also, be collecting unemployment checks, then I would be willing to meet Nissan and meet Jackie. I mean, I don't know, where she stands in this, but I would be willing to do that.
And that is very generous of you, Ben. Also, she mentioned something about the past months. How much would you be able to contribute toward the past months, the missed months that you've had?
I'm sorry, can you, I
Yeah,
hear you.
sure. Um, so you've missed 3 months, if I'm restating what you said correctly. And I guess your balance is, I think, 6,000 now. How much of that are you willing to pay her right now, or whenever you can?
I don't see myself paying the last 3 months anytime soon. Also, since there's going to be a new administration that might be giving a lot more money to the American people and probably even landowners. I think that it might even be better for us to wait and not give all the money, because there might be some sort of federal grants to landlords. So in that case, I'm not going to be talking about the money owed. We'll work that out, I guess, later on this year. But I'm just saying, going forward, 500 is what I could pay, and out of the 1,000, and hopefully I'll get all the money to her by the end of the year.
Okay, well, you sound really optimistic, Nissan, about what's going to come out of this next administration. I mean, you're telling us that they may use taxpayer funds to help small business owners and property owners, as well as poor folks who are renting. Um, that does sound really optimistic, but I'm asking you to think about, what if you don't have the monies that you think that you need? What is the amount that you would fix onto as like the lowest to the highest? Like, what is what is the spectrum for you of the amount of resources that you will have available moving forward month to month with these payments?
The lowest is 500 and the highest is 500. Well, the lowest is actually 0, but I'm willing to, be considered and give 500.
That is funny, Nissan, but we appreciate your willingness to cooperate with your landlord. I mean, it's the reason that we're here today, to see how we can cooperate together, that we can continue to get along amicably and make sure that people have what they need in order to live. All parties concerned here. And Ben, is there anything that you'd like to add further?
Yeah, I would feel comfortable doing 50% for the future, 50% for the future, months for this year. But for the past 3 months, I'm gonna pay Jackie when I get that money. And I don't know when, I don't know how, but that's as much as I could tell you right now. Like I'm not interested in I mean, if Jackie would be interested in me paying somehow in increments, then I might be open to that. But even that, I'm just not. The past 3 months, everyone drowned those 3 months, so there's nothing.
Yeah, it was a
Not sure how I
very
feel
rough
about
time
it.
for people. But I'm hearing that you are committed to paying Jackie some of the resources that you'll gather from government support. And I really commend you on doing that, because it means that we'll be able to reach an agreement where all the parties are satisfied. I thank you so much. So are you going to be able to pay back those 3 months in which you had not been paying rent? Are you going to be able to cover those what you mentioned as those increments of 3 months time where you were not able to pay the rent? We may have to handle that term. I'm pretty sure that Jackie's concerned about those back payments, those arrears as well.
Nissan, what are your thoughts here?
Personally, I feel that we should hold off on the back payments because we don't know what laws are going to be changed and what grants are going to be given. So maybe it'll be that all of these things are going to be forgiven and everybody wins. And if it's not going to be forgiven by the end of the year, hopefully the economy gets better. I know that there's talks to cancel some of the student loan debts, and all of these things will be helpful for us to pay Jackie what we owe. But I don't think we have to jump the gun as of now, and especially since we're going to be trying to contribute to the rent. I don't think anybody's trying to take away the building from Jackie yet, so I don't know why we have to rush our payments.
Nissan, you understand how much you owe her, correct?
Yes, it's $3,000 plus this upcoming month, which I agreed to pay $500 towards. So after this month, it would be $3,500.
And you agree that she is entitled to receive her past pay.
No one's denying that she's not entitled to receive her past pay, but that it's tough luck. People are having. I was also entitled to have my job, but I got laid off, even though I was a great worker, because restaurants can't be open. So just like I can't be working, she's not going to be able to get her rent. This is the way things are these days.
And are you willing to pay her back at a later time?
I said that from the beginning, that I'm willing to pay her back at a later time, and that's why I'm a little annoyed that we're here in the first place, because I told her she'll have her money. It's just a matter of time. And now I have to waste, an evening of mine discussing the same thing that I was going to say later on. But she's been a very good landlord, and she's been a very friendly to myself and to Ben as well. So, I thought that this could be the least I could do, but I really don't think she should be worried. Also, when we got the apartment, we had to go through like a really thorough background check, and our credit scores were over 800. So, I think that our history speaks for itself. It's really just this situation that's going on with the pandemic. That's why we can't pay.
So you're saying that you will pay once things get better, or you'll get more checks from the government. I think that Jackie may be afraid that what if these checks never come in, or things, who says things are gonna get better anytime soon? So is she just gonna have to wait for years for her to get the money?
Well, if things don't get better, then that's going to be the situation for everybody. I don't have a crystal ball, but um, maybe I could offer her some form of collateral, but we'll just have to wait a couple of months to see where things are going.
Yes.
I do really value your time, Nissan. I thank you for being present with us. This negotiation, excuse me, this mediation could not take place without you, without your cooperation. Ben, I understand that you wanted to chime in, but I just wanted to thank Nissan so much for his time. And I really value your optimism about what the next administration is going to do. Um, we do have to look at this long term, but we also have some short term concerns right here in front of our faces. What
I
would you
also
like
know
to
the laws are going to be opening up soon, so her anchor tenants are probably going to be able to start paying rent within the next couple of months as well. Governor Cuomo just announced that things have to start opening up, so she'll be having some sort of income coming from there, and from us also within the near future. I don't think it's reasonable to be pressing us right now for this money because clearly we don't have it.
Well, I think that she may have some lingering concern over the last 3 months' rent that were not paid to her, and she may see that as an ongoing issue. I can't speak fully for her, but if you were to put yourself in her shoes, someone who owns a property, you have tenants, the tenants are not paying a rent, there's no income being generated from your business. She's in very dire straits right now, just
I'm
like
sorry
each
to
of
cut
you.
you off. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jennifer, but
Yes,
I
Ben.
think everyone understands the situation here. Everyone is in the same boat. We get that. The problem, listen, I'm a businessman, okay? I have I have a hotel. It's not doing well. I understand that the same way it's not doing well, my people are not coming to the hotel. Jackie's having issues with her tenants paying. I understand that. But the government is telling us that we don't have to pay right now for the past 3 months. So I just don't see a reason why we should be paying for the past 3 months. Yes, once my hotel is back up and running. Yes, once Nissan is back up and running and he's got all of his ducks in a row, we will end up paying for those past 3 months eventually. But right now it's just hard
You
for me.
also said to put myself in her shoes. Well, putting myself in her shoes as a landowner, that's the risks that you take by trying to rent out a property, and that's the cost of doing business, which is why I don't own any property because I don't need this headache. And it's not like I have the money and I just being spiteful and I don't want to pay her. I don't have the money. If I give her the money that I have, how am I gonna know how am I gonna put food on my table? I want to have my reserves, and that's where my unemployment money is coming from. And that's why every time I'm going to be saving up and I'm going to be paying her an increment.
Well, thank you very much. Your concerns have been heard because I see that you feel yourself to be under some stress because the request is that you pay rent and you're simply unable to do so at this time. The issue that we keep coming back to in terms of the arrears, that's arisen from the fact that Jackie may be reasonably concerned about your ability to pay into the future. If ever, we're going to try to come together as two parties willing to engage in some negotiation together, and we'll be there to guide you throughout. But we just want you to be cognizant of Jackie's concerns, and we're very much hearing your concerns too. I thank you so much for your time. let's bring it back to the bigger room. Thanks.
Ethan and Ben, everything you told us here is confidential. Do you mind if we bring this back to Jackie?
I'm okay with that.
Thank you.